The Great Kings and Queens of Africa is presented by Anheuser-Busch to honor and preserve a part of the rich and proud African culture and to cultivate a deeper understanding of the many contributions that history has made to the world. Alfonso I was the first ruler to modernize Black Africa on a grand scale. He encouraged his people to learn Christianity and new skills in masonry, carpentry, and agriculture. Alfonso streamlined politics, established modern schools, and later became the first ruler to resist the slave trade. Promoting industry and agriculture, Hatshepsut may be the greatest female Egyptian ruler of all time. As the first woman in recorded history to preside over a nation, Hatshepsut cast aside the theory of male supremacy. Her spirited defiance of male dominance for 30 years endured to the very end, as evidenced by the discovery of her tomb in the Valley of the Kings. When Sani Ali Burr came to power, Songhai was a small kingdom in the western Sudan. With a ferocious force, the warrior king won battle after battle, routing marauding nomads, seizing trade routes, and ever expanding his domain. He captured Timbuktu, bringing into the Songhai Empire a major center of commerce, culture, and Muslim scholarship. His greatness is still legendary among the Songhai people today. Askia the Great was a fair and deeply religious man who at times fought established tradition to rule in the best interest of his people. A devout Muslim, he ruled Songhai strictly according to Islamic law. Askia Muhammad Touré united the entire central region of western Sudan with a government that is still revered today. A wise and beautiful woman from Nubia so captured the heart of the pharaoh she changed the course of history. Tai's beauty, intellect, and will so took Pharaoh Amenhotep III. He defied his nation's priest and custom by proclaiming this commoner his great royal spouse. Amenhotep declared that, as he had treated her in life, so should she be depicted in death as his equal. And so the colossal sculpture ordered for their temple thus portrays them as a pair of majestic monarchs, both proud, both noble, both serene. A flamboyant leader and world figure, Mansa managed vast resources to benefit his entire kingdom. In 1324, he led a holy pilgrimage of 72,000 people from Timbuktu to Mecca, over 6,000 miles. So spectacular was this event that Mansa Musa won international prestige for Mali as one of the world's largest and wealthiest empires. A strong leader and military innovator, Shaka is noted for revolutionizing Bantu warfare through standardized weapons and special tactics. Many enemies would flee at the mere sight of Shaka's troops. With cunning and confidence as his tools, Shaka united all tribes in South Africa against colonial rule. For hundreds of years, Nubia and Egypt had been at war. But Nefertari's marriage to King Ramesses II, Pharaoh of Egypt, brought the fighting to an end. The marriage began as strictly a political move, but it later grew into one of the greatest royal love affairs in history. In fact, the temple which Ramesses built for her at Abu Simbel is one of the largest and most beautiful structures ever built to honor a wife and to celebrate peace. One of the greatest monarchs of the Congo, King Shamba, had no greater desire than to preserve the peace. He designed an extremely democratic government featuring a system of checks and balances that represented all Bushango people. Also, Shamba promoted the arts and crafts to their highest level during his reign. Regarded as one of the greatest generals of all time, Hannibal and his powerful African armies came close to defeating the mighty Roman Empire. His audacious moves and tactics have been studied and successfully imitated as recently as in World War II. The genius of Hannibal brought Carthage great prosperity and prestige. The identity of the Queen of Sheba has long been debated, but indications are that she was the Ethiopian queen Makeda. According to legend, She was fascinated with the wisdom of the great King Solomon of Israel. Upon meeting, the king and queen were equally intrigued with one another. Fondness grew into love, and their union produced history's longest line of royalty descendants. Returning to Ethiopia, Makeda's influence transcends centuries as the Judeo-Christian tradition remains embedded in modern Ethiopia. Teaching a doctrine of love and peace, Akhenaten was the first ruler in recorded history to believe in the concept of one God. He and his wife, Queen Nefertiti, changed Egyptian culture so radically that their influence was felt centuries later through more natural visual art styles and a fuller, warmer language for poetry, songs, and storytelling. At the age of 16, this great Nubian king led his armies against the invading Assyrians in defense of his ally Israel. It earned him a place in the Bible in the books of Isaiah and 2 Kings. Despite continuous warfare, Taharqa was able to build overwhelming projects throughout his empire, including a temple with carved images over 100 feet high. The Egyptian queen ascended to power at the age of 17 to become one of Africa's greatest female rulers. Intelligent and witty, her graceful nature and stunning personality were valuable diplomatic attributes. Striving to elevate Egypt to world supremacy, Cleopatra persuaded Julius Caesar and Mark Antony to renounce their Roman allegiances to fight on behalf of Egypt. Each, however, met his death before Cleopatra's dreams of conquest were realized. Disheartened, Cleopatra pressed an asp to her breast, ending the life of the world's most celebrated African queen. Osei Tutu was the founder and the first king of the Asante Nation in what is now Ghana. He was able to convince a half a dozen suspicious chiefs to join their states under his leadership. According to legend, this occurred when the golden stool descended from heaven and came to rest on Osei Tutu's knees, signifying his choice by the gods. The kingdom would endure for 2 centuries. Menelik was the overshadowing figure of his time in Africa. He converted a group of independent kingdoms into the strong, stable empire known as the United States of Abyssinia, or Ethiopia. Resisting European colonization and uniting the opposing kingdoms made him one of the great statesmen of African history. Though dead for nearly 100 years, Nihanda remains what she was when alive, the single most important person in the modern history of Zimbabwe. When English settlers invaded in 1896, Nihanda and other leaders declared war. At first, they achieved great success. But as supplies ran short, so did battlefield victories. Nihanda was eventually captured and executed. Although gone, she was not forgotten, and is still referred to as Mbayu, grandmother, Nihanda, by Zimbabwean patriots. Khama distinguished his reign by extracting technological innovations from the Europeans while resisting their attempts to colonize Bechuanaland. Advancements included the building of schools, scientific cattle breeding, and a police corps which practically eliminated crime. In 1875, Khama appealed to Queen Victoria of England to protest English settlement in his country. The English honored Khama and his call for continued freedom for Bechuanaland. For half a century, the Basotho people were ruled by the wise and just founder of their nation, King Mosweswe. The Basotho had to fight for their survival against plundering Africans, European colonialists, and particularly the Boers. As the relentless Boers were about to annihilate the Basothos, Mosweswe persuaded the British to make Basotholand a protectorate, a diplomatic coup that helped to assure his nation's survival and to assure Mosweswe a place in African history. Nzinga of Angola was an astute diplomat and an excellent military leader. To arrest the swelling influx of slave-hunting Portuguese, she waged war for nearly 30 years. Because of her quest for freedom and relentless drive to bring peace for her people, Nzinga remains a glimmering symbol of inspiration. Samori launched a conquest to unify West Africa into a single state, spanning 100,000 square miles. In each city, Samori built a mosque, a testimonial of his devotion to Islam. During the 18-year conflict with France, powerful Samori continually frustrated the Europeans. His astute military prowess prompted some of France's greatest commanders to entitle the African monarch the Black Napoleon of the Sudan. The people of Dahomey often referred to their monarch, Behanzin, as the King Shark for his strength and wisdom. Behanzin maintained a strong army to defend his nation's sovereignty, including a division of 5,000 female warriors who were noted for their formidable zeal in battle. A fond lover of the humanities, Behanzin is credited with some of the finest song and poetry ever produced in Dahomey.